Hey, I am here. I am here. Let's see. Hey, Steven. Let's go. All right. Just want to make sure we get everything going. And if we have any questions, make sure you let me know. But today we are going to be talking. Can you hear me first? Can you hear me? Hey, Dahlia. All right. Facebook. Can you hear me on Facebook? We'll wait for a second here and see if that gets rolling. Let's see. All right. We should be good to go. Hello. Good to see everybody on here. Today, we are going to be talking about how not only myself, how I lost 100 pounds on a vegan diet. Let me back up a little bit. All right. But not only how I lost 100 pounds on a vegan diet, but how I've helped others do it, how I've seen others do it, and how I think that you can do it, or you can potentially help those that you care about lose the weight on a plant-based or vegan diet. So I will mention right now, if you do have questions, make sure you put them in the comment section. I would love to hear them and to answer them as we get going. I have a bit of an agenda as we're going to get rolling, things I want to say, but then also we can always pivot and get rolling with different things that you guys have questions on. So first things first, how did I lose 100 pounds following a vegan diet? That is the question. How did I do it? Well, a little bit of backstory. If you've known me, you know how, you probably know this, but I'll just go quickly on it. I lost 100 pounds after I had broken my back. I was a college football player at the University of Nebraska. I was studying livestock production at the time. And it was the off season. I broke my back, and that pretty much ended. Hey, Jackie. But I pretty much ended my football career. And at the time, I was about 245, 250 pounds. I broke your back. You're used to exercising a lot, practicing a lot. I quickly got up to 260 pounds and was losing muscle, putting on fat, and getting to the point where, all right, let's see. We do have questions. All right, good. We do have questions on Facebook. I'm just now seeing those pop in. So just want to make sure that that was rolling. But I found myself 260 pounds. I was overweight. I was unable to exercise because there was a period before my surgery that I wasn't able to do much after breaking my back. And then there was a period after my surgery that I wasn't able to do much for a long time. And so the only thing I could do was look to diet. And I looked to, as I was a livestock production major, I went to the professors and was asking them. And I got to the point of asking them, hey, what should I do? And they were recommending, of course, the animal-based diets, the ketogenic diet, the low-carb diet. And I did those, and I'd either lose a few pounds. I felt terrible while doing it. And then I would gain it all back because those are extremely hard to follow. And even if you do, you feel so bad on them. And so I did those, got to the point where, if you know me, again, you know the story, but I was sitting in my livestock production class, and a professor who I had asked about diet, and I had asked about nutrition, and someone I had kind of looked up to on this. But I'm sitting down next to the girl sitting next to me, and I look over, I said, there is something wrong with this picture. I have been taking advice from this professor about nutrition, and he is 300 pounds. And for the first time, guys, I'm like, it's like my eyes were open, but I realized that, hey, maybe I shouldn't be taking advice from my 300-pound nutrition professor. And that is what initially led me onto the path of adopting and finding a vegan diet, a whole food plant-based diet. There was, of course, a transition period there. But once I got rolling with it, I really started seeing results. Now I'll go through a little bit of the progression, and make sure you guys ask the questions in there. I see that, Sylvia. We're going to be getting to those questions. Stephanie, we're going to be getting those. Ladine, we're going to be getting to those. But put them in there, because as we get rolling, I will answer those questions. So fill up that comment section. But I get started on a vegan diet. You can imagine, being a livestock production major, transitioning to a vegan diet was interesting to say the least. But I was desperate. I was 100 pounds overweight. I had broken my back. I felt terrible. My back was hurting. I felt like the world was ending. And so almost diet was really the only thing that I could control at that point in time. And I know there's a lot of you out there which are in the same boat, that diet is the only thing that you can control. You may have taken your health to a point where you're unable to exercise now, or your health got to the point, maybe not with your doing, but something happened where you're unable to go out and exercise. You're able to just go run. Your friends and family might think, well, if you want to lose the weight, just start exercising, get a gym membership. Well, you might be at the point where I was, where a gym membership wasn't going to do me any good other than sit on my table, because I had a broken back, and I could just, the only exercise that I could do was get up from the recliner, walk to the kitchen, walk to the restroom, walk to the bedroom, walk back to the recliner. And that was it. And so that's where it led me to diet, really. And I am so glad that it did. A few things happened around this time. Again, I'm in my second half of the courses for my livestock production degree, and then rolls around a video called it's the Leonardo DiCaprio movie. If you know what it is, say it out here. But it was before the flood. I beat you to it. But before the flood played, and it didn't really talk about much about diet a ton, but it just touched on a few things about how your diet can affect, just how our planet and the world around you. And they were giving figures that I knew very well from my livestock production degree in my classes, talking about 2,000 gallons of water produce a gallon of milk, or, talking about quarter pounder of beef, 1,500 gallons of water, and all these things, which I knew really well, because in our classes, we were talking about how do we get the cow to drink 2,001 gallons of water to produce a little bit more beef, or to produce a little bit more milk. And so initially it just put into light that, hey, maybe the question isn't how can we get our resources used the most, and maybe let's take a step back and say, how can we, maybe we don't need to be using up our resources like this. So that just put a little seed in my brain about then. I then was led to, from before the flood to Cowspiracy, and then What the Health, and all these things that just, What the Health actually happened a little bit afterwards. So that didn't happen, but Cowspiracy, Forks Over Knives, Plant Pure Nation, these movies that really made significant the idea of a whole food plant-based diet. And that's where I found myself 100 pounds overweight. I couldn't exercise. I couldn't control really anything. I was unable at that point, after my back surgery. I had to take a semester off of classes. So I had really no control in my life other than my diet. And so that led me to, again, adopting a vegan diet at first, filled with hummus and tortilla chips, and thinking that, hey, I'm not eating the meat, cheese, and milk. Let's substitute it with the vegan cheese and the vegan meat crumble, and all these things that a lot of people, as they're transitioning, may be an okay thing to do, but it can also be a trap, because many people that I know think that just going vegan is going to help you lose weight. And that's kind of the first point here, is that you can be just as fat and sick and overweight on a vegan diet as you can the standard American diet. Now, yes, you are going to be saving animals, so that's a plus. And yes, you are going to be saving our resources, so that's a plus. Yes, you may do less damage than maybe on a standard American diet, but the health benefits that you get are not there necessarily with just a purely vegan diet. And that doesn't mean some vegan items aren't healthy. That doesn't mean some vegan junk food on a once in a blue moon isn't tasty, but it does mean that if you base your diet around processed vegan foods, you're probably not going to gain the health benefits that a whole food plant-based diet can do. So that's the first thing. So I found myself eating a lot of hummus, eating a lot of peanut butter, things that may not be bad, but when you just base your diet around them, because you were normally basing your diet around cheese and milk and eggs and all the high fat foods. So I initially moved to the high fat vegan foods. Luckily, that was only about a month or so. That wasn't a long time. It was maybe 2 months where I was not eating all that healthily on a vegan diet. So I get to the point where I'm not seeing a ton of health benefits, and I was actually feeling better. Especially, you go to vegan junk food, you feel a lot better than a keto diet or a low carb diet, because it's just foods that you still would enjoy. So I started doing some research, and about that time, my mother-in-law had kind of got into it, and she was kind of looking at some of the plant-based doctors, and I was always a big reader of business books. A serial entrepreneur, I had read all the business books. I love to read. I still love to read. But then I started to realize that, hey, there are books about a vegan diet and there's books about a whole food plant-based diet. And that's when I found out that there were authors out there like Dr. McDougall, Dr. Esselstyn, Dr. Kahn, Dr. Furman, people who have been doing this for a very long time. I got on board with it. And then they say the rest is history. You're here, I'm here. But I started to eat the whole plant foods, the potatoes, the beans, the rice, the corn, the quinoa, the fruits and vegetables. So all the whole plant foods. And we will get into, I promise, we will get into the fine details about what I ate, how I ate it, things like that. But first, let's turn over to a few questions here. Stephen, I see you there. Thank you for tuning in again. I know you were in on our last Sunday stream. Dahlia, hello. It's great to see you. Melissa, I'm glad you're here. Jan, Sylvia, Sweet Queen Diva. Hey there, Jackie. Having trouble okay, Sylvia, let's go with this one. Having trouble staying motivated. I want to answer this right away. Suggestions. Okay. Here is, and this is getting to some of the ways that I was able to lose the weight, but staying motivated. So that can mean a couple things. You're not I would have to know, if you want to type in here, Sylvia, not motivated in the idea that you're not seeing the results, so you're not staying motivated, or not motivated in the idea that you're not motivated because you're not enjoying the food. So there's a couple different things. Here's what I'll say. Motivation, I think, is a tough thing. You can't do something on motivation alone long term. And so that's why I'm a big proponent of keeping it simple. So this is how I get motivation. I just keep it simple. I keep it really, really simple. And so if you saw my recent video on Facebook, I posted it on YouTube, but on Facebook, we had almost 50,000 views of my 15-minute French fries. And yes, they don't just take 15 minutes from a raw potato. But at the start of the week, I will roast off 10, 15 pounds of red and Yukon Gold and sweet potatoes. I will roast them off in the oven for 50 minutes, 55 minutes. I will let them cool. I'll put them in the fridge. And then I will have cooled baked potatoes ready to go at any point in time so that I can preheat the oven. I can turn the grill on. I can get my air fryer going. I don't have an air fryer, but if you do, I'm speaking to you. And I can pop those. I can just cut those potatoes that have been cooked into wedges, throw them in the oven, throw them on the grill, throw them in the air fryer, throw them in the not the microwave, but the quick oven, the little quick ovens. And in 15 minutes, you have perfectly cooked French fries or wedges or, square hashes or whatever you want. And I also do the same thing with rice. I always have cooked brown rice in the fridge, ready to go. I always have beans, either cooked black beans, pinto beans, red beans, kidney beans, navy beans in the fridge that I've cooked in the Instant Pot. Or I have canned beans, right? If we're traveling or, we'll pick up some canned beans, we'll always have them ready. And so I can take some cooked brown rice. I can take some cooked beans, and I can add that in with some salsa that we have in our fridge or some taco sauce or, any seasoning you'd like, and put it in a bowl and have a burrito bowl. Or I can take some good oil-free corn tortillas, which you might ask what brand I like. I like Trader Joe's brand. It's just got, I think, 3 ingredients. I like El Milagro or El Milagra, the brand on those. But even if you can't find those 2 brands and, you find one that has 5 or 6 ingredients with a couple stabilizers, a good oil-free corn tortilla is a great option. You can pop them in the oven just for a few minutes, soften them up, or you can crisp them up a little bit, and you're never really far from a meal. So motivation, pretty simple here for me, is I never want to be 15 minutes from a meal, a cooked meal, a good whole food plant-based meal. Looks like Sylvia commented back, being single, my produce spoils, cook batches, and get tired of eating the same thing. Okay, so that's not a problem I necessarily have with the getting tired of things. I could. My wife, I'll say this, Dr. Miller does not like eating the same thing every single day. I could eat the same thing every single day without a problem, without fail, with some with some changes. So here's what I would say. I would say to keep the staples the same, Sylvia. I would try this. To keep the staples the same. So that means if you're going to have oatmeal for breakfast, but I would go check out something like forksoverknives.com. Check out my website. I was just on there sending someone a link. I think I've got 15 different oatmeal recipes. And so, you can keep that staple the same. You can keep oatmeal the same, but you can change it up as much as you'd like. Or you could have a potato hash, or you can do a lot. But I like to keep the staples the same. Same thing with rice and beans. No, we don't just have rice and beans in a bowl with salsa every single day. Sometimes we'll mix it up maybe with some barbecue sauce, and we'll make tacos, or we'll make burritos, or we'll make taquitos, or we'll make enchiladas. But the key is I just have those staples. And here's the other thing. You can also always go more exotic. So if you're just following me, you're probably are not going to see a ton of exotic recipes, just because I like to keep it simple. But if you are someone that likes to go for more exotic, but still whole food plant-based recipes, go check out the Forks Over Knives. There's a ton of different recipes. I've got some more of the exotic recipes you can check out. You can always veganize recipes or whole food plant-based-inize vegan recipes, because there's a lot of vegan recipes out there. I would say to keep it fresh in there. The produce thing, I would recommend just maybe buying a little less produce and try to meet that amount. You can also freeze it. You can make vegetable broth with it if your produce is spoiling. I would not let the fresh produce part of things be a reason that you fall off the wagon about that. So that might mean you could always buy frozen vegetables, frozen fruit, things like that are not going to spoil. And if you're someone who's a single person and you're worried about things spoiling, that might be a better option as well. So I hope that helps. Let's come over here to Facebook and see if we have any questions. All right, Ladine, I've gained some weight going vegan, and now that I'm 100% vegan eating down, I need to lose 50 pounds. So we're getting on this. So you can gain weight eating a vegan diet, and we're going to talk about a few of those key things about transitioning from not just eating a vegan diet, from going to a whole food plant-based diet in just a second. We're just going to come on here. Let's see. Stephanie, my kids love your fat-free taquitos. I serve with a large side of fruit. They tear it up. That is so awesome. I've been getting a lot of questions, or not questions, but a lot of comments, a lot of messages from families, from moms and dads who their kids are really enjoying the recipes, because the recipes I make are simple, yes, but they're tasty and they're really kid friendly a lot of times. The nice cream, I get messaged a ton about people who say that they've been feeding their kids the nice cream at night and they're loving it, and I love it. And one thing I wish is that I would have had the nice cream, or I wish I would have had those taquitos. It just would have set me up on a much more healthy path growing up. So thank you, Stephanie, for sharing that with the kids. I also make a crock pot of beans every Sunday, and my hubby takes it to work. That is awesome. Yes, it's great to see you, Sylvia, here. Ladine, I see a cookbook in the making. We'll see about that. I do try to make things accessible. Yes, Betty, I do. All right, Kelly. Hey, Gabriel, I'm on a vegan blog for beginners, and I keep seeing people post about how bad soy is, which is opposite what our whole food plant-based teaches. Thoughts? Okay, soy. Here's my thoughts on soy. Soy is not the horrible, evil food that we've been told about. There's better soy products and there's worse soy products. Soy milk, great option. You want to splash some in your oatmeal. You want to put some, in a recipe. Soybeans, a whole food. You can have those. They sell them in the freezer section. Sometimes you can find them fresh. You can make them. Tofu, a good option once in a while if you're, wanting something to resemble another, food option. I'll make tofu nuggets or crispy tofu sometimes. But I will say about the soy is, it's okay on a whole food plant-based diet. But if you are trying to lose weight, it is one of the higher fat whole plant foods. So just like this is a webcast about weight loss. So just like I'll stay away from the higher fat plant foods like peanut butter and peanuts and nuts and seeds and avocados if you're trying to lose weight, because we're looking towards a high carbohydrate, low fat, whole food plant-based diet. The same thing goes with a lot of those soy products. Tofu, not necessarily something you want to be eating a lot of if you're trying to lose weight. I know a lot of people get onto a plant-based diet and they think they've got to eat the tofu. But in reality, most tofu is 40% of calories from fat. So yeah, it's lower fat when you take into account all the water, but if you were to just take it on the dry weight, just like you would a dry bean or something like that, we're going to be looking at it's about 40% of calories from fat. So something that you can have, you know, if you're a healthy weight, you can have it regularly. If you're needing to lose some weight, it would be something I would really try to limit about there. So here's how I do it. Let's go to how I lost 100 pounds, and then we can get into some more questions and some more really into the real details of things. I lost the weight doing this. I ate whole plant foods. I ate a high carbohydrate, low fat, plant-based diet. Let's just go over what I would eat. For breakfast, I would eat oatmeal. A lot of times I would have, I make all my Instant Pot oatmeals. I did a lot of those as I was losing the weight. So something like my tropical oatmeal with pineapple and mango, some banana, or I would just make oatmeal. I would just have my old-fashioned rolled oats. I would get some hot water off the kettle, or I think at the time we had a coffee machine. I would just take some hot water. I'd let it soak in the oats. I'd get some banana, some cinnamon, some maple syrup. That's what I would have for breakfast. Really simple. I might have an apple to snack on, but oats and fruit were the base of the breakfast. Now you can also have things like potato. You know, you do a lot of things, but I would also sometimes have potatoes, so hash browns. So before going plant-based or before going vegan, I used to. This is horrible now. I mean, and it's no wonder I was 100 pounds overweight. But I would have Erica would make me, and she's not, you know, it's not like she was trying to hurt me or anything, but it's just something that I enjoyed. She would make like a half or a whole log of, you know, the sausage. So horrible processed, terrible for you and terrible for the planet, terrible for the animals, clearly. And I would have that with 4 poached eggs over a sweet potato hash that was covered in butter and brown sugar. That's what I had for breakfast. If you want to know what to eat to gain 100 pounds and be 100 pounds overweight and become obese, that is what you need. So if there's any sumo wrestlers on here, that might be the direction you want to go. If we've got a bunch of normal people on here who want to live healthily, be healthy, and follow a sustainable diet, then maybe we're going to be going towards something not so much that extreme. So I would have oatmeal. We're talking about potato hashes. And then for lunches, I would have a lot of times some rice and then some beans. That could be a bean chili that I made, just a simple bean chili. That could be some rice and beans with some salsa. And the amounts. Okay, here we go with the amounts. How much was I eating of those amounts? Well, I would gauge this. So before I had and I should say this, before I had that rice and those beans, I would have a salad. So I recommend, if you want to lose, this is not something that you have to do or something that you've got to prescribe to forever or that you have to do now. But if you are having trouble losing weight, this is something I would recommend. It's something that helped me, is I would have a salad before lunch and before dinner. So how big of a salad, Gabriel? What did you have in the salad? Did you have an oil for, it was a 6-ounce to 8-ounce salad. I like spinach, but I also like spring mixes. And I know some people have trouble with just eating spinach salads like that. So you can go with spring mixes. You can go with romaine. We're just looking for that fiber content of it. So yes, there are the phytonutrients, there are the benefits. But if we're trying to lose weight on a whole food, plant-based, a vegan diet, then we're going to be going with a salad before lunch, before dinner. And so I would eat a 6 to 8 ounce salad, depending on kind of how hungry I was. That would help fill me up a little bit, because growing up and still am, I am a volume eater. I can eat a lot of food in a sitting. And so having that salad kind of just got me into the mode of getting into a little bit of fullness. It didn't fill me up. I didn't just eat a salad, but instead of needing 3 cups of rice and 2 cups of beans to fill up, it would maybe take 2 cups of rice and half a cup of beans, or a cup of beans, somewhere around there, to fill me up for lunch. Okay. And dressing wise, I'm a big fan of balsamic dressings. Just like Dr. Esselstyn, Dr. Esselstyn's wife, he calls her the acid queen because of how much she loves balsamics. We really do like balsamics. A simple dressing that I will make, and I do have some other dressings on the website, is I'll use some stone ground mustard, some maple syrup, and some balsamic dressing, and that is actually from Dr. Esselstyn. That's his 3-2-1. We talked about it last Sunday stream. That's a great, simple recipe that I know you can alter however you'd like. Another easy one is this is just a version from my Southwest spinach recipe, or Southwest spinach salad. But I really like barbecue sauce. My dad really likes barbecue sauce. Have some barbecue sauce on a salad. Have some rice and beans in there. And that's the other thing. You don't have to necessarily just have that 6 to 8 ounce salad one and then move to the rest of your meal. You can throw in that rice and beans that you would normally have, the 1.5 cups, 2 cups of rice or some beans, and throw it in there and fill up that way. The key is that you don't want to just, put it in one bowl and then eat all the rice and beans. And this is only if you're trying, this is if you're trying to kind of maybe reach over that peak a little bit, or you've plateaued. A normal person at a healthy weight, this is something you can do. It's something I do. It's something just to stay healthy. I try to eat my greens, but losing that weight, something that really helped was having that salad before. It just helped fill me up a little bit, especially because of how much of a volume eater I was. I would do that for lunch and dinner, change up the dressing a little bit. And for me, I can just go ahead and pour on some balsamic vinegar. I don't need to mix it up all the time. I will occasionally. And then things like dinner. Dr. Miller, back when I was losing the 100 pounds, guys, I wasn't actually doing recipes. I wasn't cooking. As I was losing the weight, I got into cooking more. I got into the diet and the health of things. But I was not the one in the kitchen. That was Dr. Miller. We were married at the time, and she enjoys cooking. She still does enjoy cooking. And at the time, I didn't, and I really didn't know how to cook. And so we were having a little more exotic things sometimes, like a kale and rice enchiladas, oil-free, vegan enchiladas. And then as I started getting going, after I'd lost a little bit of weight, I started to do more. We started eating a little more simply. Things like just simple fries or simple hash browns that we would put in the oven, and we would slice up. And those weren't my 15-minute ones because we would just cook them from raw, so that would take 45, 50 minutes. We would also have some more rice and beans sometimes, but a lot of times we like to have something warm for dinner. We were in Nebraska at the time, and so there wasn't a ton of super hot days. And so we would have things like Dr. Miller's split pea soup, a delicious recipe, fill up on that split pea soup. We would have things like a bean chili. I would make a lentil stew, things, just nice hearty dishes that then I could make a big batch of and then take for lunch the next day, or Dr. Miller could take in for lunch the next day. Sometimes we would just do burritos or tacos, but we would keep it really simple. So that is the key. I would keep it simple, adding in, whole plant foods. And so I just say it again, I was keeping away from the higher fat plant foods. You're at a healthy weight, you're feeling good, you're not trying to lose weight. You maybe can add in some of that nuts and seeds, avocados, the nut butters. But if you're trying to lose that weight and you want to know how to sustain it the best and the easiest and the simplest way is to go for those higher carbohydrate foods, potatoes, rice, beans, corn, quinoa, and moving away from those higher fat foods. And while I was losing the weight, I was almost exclusively cutting out the higher fat foods, which for nuts and seeds was a little bit hard because I enjoyed those. Avocados, I've never been a huge avocado fan. So that was a little bit simpler for me. But yes, that is how I did it. And it didn't happen overnight. How long did it take, Gabriel? It took about 2 years. So if you take 100 pounds divided by 2 years, I lost around 2 pounds a week, right? No. Yes. I lost about a pound a week. 1 pound a week. Yes. Dr. Miller's too far away. I've got my mathematician is out of the room right now. But about a pound a week, a pound a week I lost. A very sustainable way to do it. That means that some weeks I lost 2 pounds, some weeks I didn't lose any, but overall, over the scheme of things, I lost a pound a week. And after the course of around 2 years, I was down 100 pounds, down to a healthy 160 pounds. And now I am, so much lighter on my back, just feeling great. All right, here we go, Tim. I just see greetings from a Husker fan. Go Big Red. GBR, Tim, should have a good year this year. I think hearing from the guys, I think Frosty got him right, and we should have a great year for the Huskers. Let's go into a few questions. I just want to see here. What do we have? Melissa was in the same vote as Sylvia. I share a lot of my food. That's a great thing. Sharing food. So yes, you can. If you're having some food spoil, sharing food can be a great option there. Let's see. Jan, do you drink wine or alcohol? Okay, Jan, I do not recommend as something for better health drinking wine or alcohol. It's not something that needs to be included or should be included into a whole food plant-based or just a healthful diet. With saying that, yes, I do drink wine occasionally. I do a little bit of a hobby of mine is making wine, so I'll do that on occasion. It's not an every night thing. It's not an every week thing. I might have a glass of wine once or twice a month. So and it's definitely not something you should throw in for health. If you enjoy it and your health, you're living a more so healthful life on the other side, and it's okay. So I hope that answers that question. Lynn, can you talk about oil? Yes. So I guess I was talking about a low fat, away from the high fat plant foods. And I didn't really mention the number one high fat plant food, and that is oil. So we went completely oil free. That might seem daunting to you, as it did for my mom when she was, adjusting to this way of eating. It was kind of daunting to us. I know my wife, Dr. Miller, was not used to not cooking with oil, or without oil. So there was like, well, how are we going to eat roasted vegetables? How are we going to cook in a pan? How are we going to have anything baked in the oven? And so here is a tip that we found. Can you hear that? Because it just seems super loud. 1 second. We've got Bella here. She is snoring while her aunt bubbles, but hey, we're trying to have a live stream right now. If you guys have any questions for Bella, I'm sure she would love to answer them. She is also a pro at weight loss. She lost, I think, 25 pounds. She's much more healthful now. And instead of living the average bulldog life of 6 to 8 years, there's no question in my mind that she's going to be living 14 plus years. Right, Belle? Because we don't want to lose you. We don't want to lose you. So any questions for Bella? She's always here to answer them. She might make another appearance here in a second. Who knows? Bubbles kind of running away from me. But yeah, so what was I going to say? Oil. So first of all, why is oil bad? Well, oil is 100% fat, 2 tablespoons over 200 calories. They've done studies. One person eats a muffin with no oil in it. The other person eats a muffin with 2 tablespoons of oil in it. Neither people notice a difference in that muffin, and they do not fill up any differently. So you will fill up the exact same whether it has a tablespoon or 2 tablespoons of oil in a recipe or a serving compared to having no oil in it. So just on an apples to apples basis, it's just adding extra calories. On a extremely apples basis, it's adding only fat calories, which are the worst thing you can be adding into your diet if you're eating a high carbohydrate, low fat, plant-based vegan diet. So that is where oil is bad. For that aspect, there's also been a ton of studies on how it is horrible for artery function. Dr. Esselstyn is a great person to look to that. Dr. McNougal talks about the problems with oil. The thing with oil, it is pretty much just a poisonous food. It has no health benefit. The benefits that you might get from from an avocado oil, well, guess what, people? Avocado oil is not a miracle drug, because the exact same benefits you'd get from avocado oil, you get them in, spades from an avocado. The same thing with, it's just, you don't get those health benefits. You just get the added fat. So I hope that answers that. But okay, great. Oil's bad, but how am I supposed to eat vegetables, Gabriel? How am I supposed to cook in a pan? How am I supposed to? Here is the number one thing that I can recommend for those going to an oil-free way of living. 2 things. First of all, it is super easy. You probably have never tried it. If you're questioning not being able to, saute things or cook in a pan with oil, you've probably never tried it, but try using some vegetable broth. Try using you can just use water if you'd like, but veggie broth is a great alternative. It adds some flavor in there. You want to saute some onions, you want to saute some garlic. Veggie broth can work the exact same as the oil. You're going to need to maybe add some more in because it will evaporate off, but that works great. Can you cook a pancake in a non-stick pan? That's going to be a little tougher. They've got some great griddles. They've got some different options there. But on the whole basis of sauteing, you can do it without oil very easily. I challenge you, if you cannot cook or saute onions or garlic, come back to me and we will figure it out, but you can do it for sure. And then baking. How do I roast vegetables? How do I do my, half potatoes and put them down and get them crispy without oil? Parchment paper. And it's not the most zero waste thing in the world. But parchment paper, if you're looking for something to roast vegetables, to cook in the oven, to use in that way, parchment paper is the way to go. We use parchment paper a lot. If you follow my recipes, I use a lot of parchment paper because it is just so helpful for the oil-free vegan in baking and roasting and cooking like that. So I hope that helps. Let's see if we got any more questions here. We do have a lot of questions. So it looks like, all right, Shane, it looks like you are starting to work out again. What are you doing for an exercise program? Okay, so this also goes into line with, right? We're talking about losing weight here. I lost 100 pounds by following a whole food plant-based diet. But you see me now, you see, well, I hope you see that I'm working out. I hope my arms look a little bigger or better or whatever. It's not like it's my goal in life to have big arms or bigger, muscles, but I do work out. So if you notice, it's great, I guess. And thank you, Shane, for noticing. But, and I do flex in some pictures. So yeah, it's not just like, I don't just have biceps bursting out I try to promote what a healthy whole food plant-based diet can produce in your life and what it can look like. So when I'm posting pictures and stuff, I do try to show that and promote that in the best way possible. So I hope that doesn't come off as tacky or anything. I just hope it comes off as, hey, I'm trying to be a good promotion to this way of living. But what do I do for working out? Just for weight loss, here's the thing with weight loss. I get asked a lot. Should I go running? Should I go this? Well, if you're a healthy person who's used to exercising and you're trying to lose weight, well, you can go in the gym and you can start working out pretty heavily. It's probably not going to be that terrible for you if you're used to that level of exercise and endurance. And if you're already exercising a ton and now you're trying to lose weight, so say you've been exercising a ton, you're still overweight, you're not losing weight, and you've been exercising a lot, and now you're going to keep exercising a lot, and you're going to move to a whole food plant-based diet. That is the only way that I would recommend doing heavy exercises if you're already doing it, and then you're moving to a whole food plant-based diet. Because in reality, you're not going to have a huge, there's not going to be a big difference. The only thing that's going to happen is you're going to really lose weight on that if you're eating whole food plant foods that are low fat and high in carbohydrate. That's going to be a good option. But for the 95% of people, and for myself included, who was really unable to exercise or was able to exercise, you might be able to exercise a little bit. I would not recommend jumping into the gym and starting to exercise heavily. I wouldn't recommend going on the treadmill or getting on the elliptical and getting after it. No, I wouldn't recommend that. What I would recommend is light exercises, because here's the thing. If you go into the gym, you're not used to high levels of activity and you're trying to lose weight. You go into the gym, you get on the elliptical for an hour, you work it, you feel good. Well, that day, if you didn't go to the gym and you were just eating whole plant foods, you just got on this way of eating, you're trying to lose weight, you might have had some potatoes and some rice and beans, you might have ate 1,700 calories. But here's the thing. After you get done at the gym, after being on the elliptical or the treadmill or running stairs or, the Stairmaster, after an hour of that, you are starving. You get home and you throw down 4 or 5 sweet potatoes. You throw down two cups of rice. And then, but the other thing is you're so hungry and you feel like you did so much, you say, hey, I can splurge on some of those higher fat foods. I'm going to just drizzle a little bit of that tahini on there. I'm going to bake a big tofu dish. I'm going to do all these things. I'm going to put some peanut butter on there because I worked out hard today. Well, here's the thing. Instead of eating that 1,700 calorie day where you would have felt full, you just ate 2,500, 2,800 calories because you spent an hour in the gym and burned 300 calories. That doesn't add up. You don't have to be a PhD in mathematics like my beautiful wife to understand that you're not going to lose weight or sustain that very long term. And so if you're trying to lose weight and you want to also exercise and you're not used to exercising in high levels yet, then I would recommend low activity exercises. Walk around the neighborhood, walk on the treadmill for 30 minutes to 45 minutes a day. Do not get up to where you're breaking a sweat. Do not get up to the point where you're feeling like you're exhausted or you can't breathe. Just nice, easy walking, things like that. You could do some light, I'll say light here, resistance strength exercises. So you can do some machines. But here's the thing, you're not going to lose weight because you're burning calories on the bench press machine, on the press machine. You're not going to lose weight because you're doing leg curls, or you're just not going to lose weight from those things. You might gain some strength, and those are great long-term, building up your skeletal, your muscular and skeletal system. You're going to be strengthening bone. Those are all great things. But for weight loss, I recommend low activity type exercises, just because we do want to get into the gym. You want to, or exercising a little bit. You want to feel, feel good. You want to feel healthful about that. But we don't want to get to the point where we're so hungry after working out that we go and eat 700 calories after burning 200. That doesn't add up. Let's see, a couple more questions here. Okay. Gabriel, touch on calorie density for those trying to lose weight. That's great, Stephen. Here's the other thing. So you might hear high carbohydrate, low fat, whole food, plant-based diet. That's how I lost 100 pounds. And you might be thinking, whoa, Gabriel, you're eating potatoes, you're eating rice, you're eating these high carb things. Don't you know that all the experts say that if you eat high carbohydrate foods, you're going to gain weight, you're going to be fat because carbs make you fat, Gabriel, right? Well, here's the thing. If we look at a scale, I would recommend everybody do this. Thank you for recommending this, Stephen. Once we're done on this, I would recommend you go onto Google and type in calorie density, vegan calorie density. Just type that in. You'll find a couple different charts. So if we're looking at potatoes, the high carbohydrate starches, the great thing about them is they're full of two things, fiber and water. So a potato, a medium-sized baked potato, can be a little bit over 100 calories. It's going to take, for me personally, I'll just say for me personally, 6-foot male, medium activity takes 2 or 3 medium-sized potatoes to kind of fill me up. Yeah, I could probably eat more, but if I have a salad before it, I'm not going to need more. And so that's going to be 300, 400 calories. I'm going to eat more around that meal with some rice and some beans, things like that. But we're talking about 3, medium-sized potatoes, 125 calories. We're talking maybe 400 calories, and it's going to be about this much mass of food. So that's on one scale. And then, so that's kind of a good health end. You start eating things like salad greens. You eat as many, salad greens are the lowest calorie density because they pretty much are all fiber and water. Yeah, they have phytonutrients. But then on that other end of the spectrum, we've got things like oil, which a tablespoon right there, 100 calories. Put a couple tablespoons in some sauteed vegetables, 200 calories. And this, people, has 0 fiber. It might have some water content, but 0 fiber, not going to fill you up. So we eat towards the low calorie density type foods. We're going to fill up on things like salad greens, green leafy vegetables. That's not all we're going to eat. But then we're going to just go over a couple steps, and we're going to go to potatoes and rice and beans, and we're talking about 300 to 400 calories of food like that in a pound. So that's where we're at. And then we talk about some of the other foods you might see me eat, things like bread. Well, bread is high calorie. It's high in calorie density because there's a lot of times, even if it's like a whole wheat, a good amount of the fiber has been taken out, and there's no water content in it or very little water content in it. So something you definitely want to limit if you're trying to lose weight. If you're at a healthy weight, something you can eat in moderation. We don't really promote moderation here. So we like to keep things in the house and around the house that we can eat as much of as we can. So we don't have oil in our house. We don't have bread in our house other than if we're going to go out or if we're having a special occasion. We don't have things, the high calorie foods like peanut butter around or tahinis, because you start getting into the mindset of moderation. Oh, well, guess what? I'm at a healthier weight. I deserve a little bit of peanut butter. I can dip a date in there. I can have a little tahini over my bagel, or not my bagel, because that'd be on the high, or I can have a little tahini over my, over my curry, my chickpea curry. Would just drizzle some on there. Well, you start getting into moderation with that, with those high calorie foods, those high calorie plant foods. And then we talk about we're not losing weight and we're not staying the same, but we're looking at gaining weight again, which is the wrong thing you want to do. And let me just touch on this, because if anybody is maybe asking a question about that, you may have tuned in. Yeah, we're talking about losing weight, how I lost 100 pounds on a whole food plant-based diet. But the question might be, hey, Gabriel, how do I gain weight? Well, how do you gain weight on a whole food plant-based vegan diet? Because I'll never recommend oil and I'll never recommend animal products. And I won't recommend things like refined sugars, things like that. But how do you gain weight on a whole food plant-based diet? Well, you move towards those things that are the opposite of what you want to be eating on a whole food plant-based diet to lose weight. So go ahead and have some nuts, seeds, avocados, have some of those higher calorie density plant foods. But you've got to also be careful that if you're trying to gain weight, you might just gain some fat on there. So maybe you want to fill up on some potatoes, some rice, and some beans, have a little bit more. Maybe you want to start exercise. If you're trying, this might seem a little counterintuitive, but maybe you want to exercise a little bit more. If you're trying to gain weight, exercise more. You get a little hungrier. You're going to fill up. You might overeat a little bit, but we're trying to, if that's the idea of the gaining weight, athletes sometimes have this problem. If you're a normal person, let me tell you this, barring any eating disorders, right? So we're not talking about anorexia. We're not talking about bulimia. We're not talking about eating disorders here. But if you're a regular person and your mom or dad or your cousin is telling you, oh, you got on a vegan diet and you need to gain weight, you're getting too skinny. Well, I want you to look up some charts. Dr. McDougall has a great chart. There's some, Dr. Kempner has a great chart on healthy body weights of people 50 to 100 years ago, and they are pretty staggering. Someone in the 5'11", 6 foot range is going to be around 150 to 155 pounds as a male. You don't see too many 155, 6 foot males walking around. And if you do, and someone hears that they're on like a vegan diet, what's the first thing they'll say, or you'll hear is, oh, they're just losing too much weight. They're wasting away on a vegan diet. When in reality, they're really at a healthy body weight, but our cultural norms and our societal accepted norms now of body weight have changed what we see as a healthy person. Now you see a 6 foot person who weighs 195, 200 pounds walking around, and you think, well, that's a normal, healthy weight person, when in reality, for long-term health, and looking at historical data, that 6 foot person is probably around 25 pounds overweight. And we're not taking into account, of course, things like muscle mass. So that could be a 185 pound person who's 7% body fat. Yes, you could say that. Is your uncle who's 195 pounds, 7% body fat? No, I don't think so. So I hope that helps in there. I hope that helps in there. Let's see here. I am new, trying to figure out Furman versus McDougall, Christy. Let's see. Yeah, so Oxford 14. Yeah, that was a yikes type thing. Yeah, I don't recommend that now. Christy, Dr. McDougall, Dr. Furman, here's the deal. They both have done a ton of good for the plant-based movement. They've helped a lot of people lose weight. They've helped a lot of people get healthy. I recommend Dr. McDougall because I believe it can help the most amount of people and do the most amount of good. Dr. Furman, here's the deal. If you are someone who's got to be super anal about stuff, you got to write down your calories. You got to make sure you hit your micronutrients, your macronutrients, your phytonutrients. You want to make sure you hit everything, which I'll say this isn't going to help you lose a lot of weight because you get so worried and caught up in all the different numbers that you try maximizing your intake of things, and then you try maximizing things when you're trying to lose weight. It doesn't always work out that way unless you're like maximizing, say, salad greens, but that's not sustainable long term. But then you look at someone like Dr. McDougall, the average person, keep it simple. You can sit down and have a potato for dinner. You can sit down and have some rice and beans. Things like I eat, things like I know many people, including a lot of you guys watching this live stream, eat to lose weight or have eaten to lose weight and continue to keep it off. I know there's some McDougallers out there, I'm sure. And so, yes, there is a place for people to follow a type of Furman style diet. It's not for me. And it's not something that I recommend to really any of my followers, just because you start getting into those high fat foods. And here's something else you have to understand. I'm coming into this from the standpoint of I broke my back. I was unable to exercise. I needed to focus solely on diet to lose weight. I used diet to lose 100 pounds. Well, you look at someone like Dr. Furman, who was a Olympic level figure skater, ice skater, I think, and who exercises still into his retirement. He's not retired, but into his retirement ages is still exercising super heavily. Well, yeah, if you exercise super heavily, you can eat those nuts, seeds, avocados. But if you're just like I was, you're just a normal person who's trying to lose weight, who doesn't have time to be in the gym for an hour and a half a day, who doesn't want to go, do burpees and, run on the treadmill every single day. Not saying those things aren't healthy, but not realistic for the average person working 50 hours a week, who comes home, they're tired and they just want to eat some food and, kind of relax. So if you're exercising super heavily, you've got a ton of output, you probably could follow a Furman style diet, eat those higher fat foods and be pretty healthy. But on the normal and in general, I recommend a McDougall style diet, a starch-based diet, a whole food plant-based, low-fat plant-based diet. And that is what has worked for me. And that's, I know, has worked for many, many others. And it's what a lot of human populations have eaten. There's not too many populations that have been long-lived that ate a ton of nuts, seeds, and avocados. And here's why. You go down to Mexico, where avocados are, normal. Are they producing in one city? Are they producing avocados all year round? Maybe. Are you going to have an avocado tree in your house? Nuts. We talk about nuts and seeds. Have you ever gone? I've got a pecan tree out here. You go. I've got. I'll let you come out here. You can eat all the pecans you want, but you go find them on the ground. And you're going to get a hammer, you're going to get something to smash them. Then you're going to have lots of little bits and pieces of nuts, and same thing with seeds. And so they're not foods that our human populations would have eaten in mass quantities anyways, or would have tried to maximize in a general sense. And so, but things like the potatoes, the rice and beans, the corn, the quinoa, those are type of things that we have for a long time maximized in our intake and based our diets off of. And those are our longer lived human populations. I hope that helps. Hey, D. Tyson, finally caught you live. Yes. Yeah, Janet, she's says oil is good to change the texture of food, but it's not healthy. Yeah, you can change the texture in a lot of foods without oil, without damaging your overall health. So not something that I recommend. Steven, how's the plant-based diet? Bella, up here. All right, Steven. Well, Bella's down 25 pounds. She's at a healthy body weight. I keep her at a body condition score of 4.5, which it's a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being pretty much so much emaciated that the dog's going to die, 10 being so fat, which you probably have seen some 10s out there. You got dachshunds or wiener dogs that are as wide as they are long. That is not healthy. So a 4.5 to 5 is the healthy range. That's where we keep her. That's where we keep Bubbles. That's what's been shown in studies to produce the longest lived dog. So yes, Bella is doing great, feeling great, very active. If you follow me on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube, and you've probably seen the dogs running around the yard. They are super active. They can deal with the heat. They go on hikes with us. They go camping with us. And I don't know too many bulldogs that are going camping or hiking or to the beach with their families. So she's happy. I think I can speak for you, huh? I think so. I hope that helps. All right, let's see here. What do we have? Naomi, I'm Hungarian, and we'd have a broth-based soup before a main dish, I'm guessing. I think it's also a good strategy to fill up. Yeah, so there's other populations where instead of having a salad before you have dinner, we're talking about losing weight, how I lost 100 pounds, I would eat a 6-ounce salad or a 6 to 8 ounce salad before lunch and dinner, not because that's all I ate or because I was trying to maximize my phytonutrients, as John Kohler says from growingyourgreens.com. No, I would eat that 6 to 8 inch salad because I would want to just begin the process of filling up a little bit, to not reach a point of satiety, not to reach a point where I was satiated, but to get to the point where I was just filling up a little bit, so that when I got to that main meal, when I got to that rice and bean enchilada, or I got to those tacos, or I got to the oatmeal, or whatever I was having for that meal, instead of having 3 or 4 servings, I could have 1 to 2 servings and I would be full at that point. Because growing up, let me tell you, I was a 4 to 5 serving person. Here's an example. Our good friends, our bestest friends in Nebraska, the Bowers. I don't know if they're on here right now. Kelly, Phil, kids. Beaudry can be a future Olympic wrestler. Julian, a future karate champion. Well, he also might be the next Chuck Norris. Amelia, future long distance runner, probably Olympian, probably the smartest person in the world. But hey, here's the deal. Before going vegan and before they were eating a plant-based diet, we would go over to their house every Sunday night for dinner. And here is the type of eater that I was. Here's how I was eating before I lost the weight. And again, if you want to know how to gain 100 pounds and totally lose your health and become unhealthy, then here's how you do it. Kelly, who would make desserts for our Sunday night dinners, would make a dessert, normally like a pie or like a casserole dish or whatever, of a dessert. But she would make two. Can we see these? Two. One for everybody, which was normally 5 to 6 people, and one for Gabriel. One for everybody, 5 to 6 people, and one for Gabriel. And I would eat that whole pie, that whole dessert. So that is how I grew up. That's how I continued to be until I got on this whole food plant-based diet. So I was a volume eater. If we have any volume eaters out there, you probably are understanding what I'm talking about. So when I got onto a whole food plant-based diet, onto the vegan diet, and I needed to lose the weight, how did I counteract? Because I didn't want to have, I didn't want to make 2 rice and bean enchiladas, one for me, one for everybody else, because as healthy as those foods are and as low calorie as those foods are, if you eat enough of them, you're not going to lose weight and you are going to gain weight. And so I reached that point of satiety. I reached that mass or that volume of food that I needed by adding in those salads. And yes, Naomi, you can also do that by having in some broth-based soups. There are some great veggie broth soups or some simple ramen style soups. There's great options out there. Great options out there. Christina, thanks for sharing your great recipes. You are so welcome, Christina. If you don't know this, or if people don't know this, I started doing my recipes. I started doing my videos after I went home to help take care of my dad. My dad is a former college football player. He has had both knees redone. He's had knees done multiple times. He's had his shoulders redone. He's been very injury prone, but he's also been 275 to 300 pounds ever since his playing weight. So not a lot of lightweight feathers on those knees, a lot of heavyweight, a lot of wear and tear. And he had a surgery, and a few years later, they found out that it was infected. He had that knee replaced. And then last winter, 2 winters ago, he ended up having that infection come back, and the doctors told him he was going to have his leg amputated. I was working a full-time job at the time. Erica was finishing up her PhD at the University of Nebraska. And we made the decision that I would leave Nebraska. I would step down from my job and I would go home and help my parents. And but with one thing, and if you know me, you know the story probably, is I was going to make every meal. I made breakfast, I made lunch, I made dinner, and we were going to eat healthfully, whole food, plant-based, and completely vegan. Everybody was on board. My mom was excited because I was going to be doing the cooking. My dad was like, well, anything's better than losing your leg. And so I did this, and he ended up losing 50 pounds over the course of about 4 to 5 months. He pretty much regained his health. He had heart problems before, no more heart problems. He's seen his cardiologist, or his cardiologist was actually at about 5 months after I was there. He had a checkup with his cardiologist, and his cardiologist was confused as to why my dad was at the office. He wasn't confused because he was so healthy. He wasn't confused because he was at the wrong office. He was confused because he did not believe that he would ever see my dad again. He knew he was having the knee problems. He knew he had heart complications, and he had pretty much written him off and said, you're not going to survive this. And so it was a miracle to that doctor that he was even there. So yeah, so that's how he did it. I was home helping my parents out, but I had to leave. I got to leave. Erica was accepting a new position in Virginia. And so I needed a way to continue to help my family, my mom, my dad, and others who were beginning to ask about how I got onto this way of eating. And so I started the blog, started the YouTube, started doing the recipes, started on Facebook, and an itchy nose there. But I think Bella got my nose itchy. But I started doing these videos like that, and that is why I did it at the start, to help my parents, to help my family, my loved ones. And now I'm doing it for them, but also for everybody else who enjoys those recipes. So every time I hear someone tell me that the recipes have been found helpful, that they've helped them transition, that they've helped a family member, do not ever stop. Don't ever feel like it's monotonous, or you're going, you're just saying something that I know, because that is one of the greatest things someone can tell me, is that I've been able to make a difference in their life. And so I really appreciate that, Christina. I really, really do. Stefan, cooking helps you understand what you're putting in your body. Yes. Food is fuel. It's about shifting your perception, but it doesn't mean you can't enjoy it. That is so true. So if you're just catching this, if you're just jumping on to our live stream, let me grab a glass of water here. I'd never cooked. I never did anything in the kitchen before breaking my back, before adopting a whole food plant-based diet. I was 100 pounds overweight. And so I started cooking. I started getting things going. And once I started adopting this vegan whole food plant-based diet, it wasn't at the start. Dr. Miller was still doing the cooking when we first got started. But after getting started, I am starting to realize the health promoting benefits of a whole food plant-based diet. I was sold. And I started, just like you just said, Steph, you get going with it, and you really start understanding about it, and it becomes fun. It might not be fun to everybody. So if you don't love it, then you don't have to. And you don't have to cook these exotic things. I don't do many exotic type recipes. I keep it really simple. But yes, once you find out about that, it becomes really simple. Let's see here. Stacy, how about smoothies? Smoothies are not something I recommend for weight loss. With that said, a lot of people are able to lose weight on a whole food plant-based diet and have smoothies. I don't prescribe it. I don't recommend. I didn't give my mom and dad smoothies as they were losing weight, or, do I have smoothies now? Yes, I'll have smoothies occasionally. Most people know, like today is Sunday. I'll have a Sunday morning smoothie. It's just a chocolate kale banana smoothie that I have every Sunday. It's not something you have to have, and it's definitely not something that you have to add into your diet to lose weight, because what a smoothie can be a lot of times is you might hear from a plant-based influencer or someone the benefits of smoothies, thinking that it's so great that I can't miss out on the smoothies. Well, here's the problem. You're probably not going to just have the smoothie for breakfast. You're probably going to still have your oatmeal and then the smoothie. So instead of that health promoting smoothie, you just added 300 calories. And yeah, it might have been from whole plant food sources, but you ground it up, you mixed it up, you pulverized it with blades moving at 1,000, rates per second. And so not necessarily the most health promoting thing if you're at a healthy body weight. During the summer, guys, I love smoothies because I work out on the farm. And it cools you down. It's a great thing. It's great for that, but I don't recommend them as a weight loss technique, or as to add in your phytonutrients, things like that. No, if you enjoy a nice, cool, cold, thick drink when it's hot outside, smoothie can be a great option. I hope that helps. The nice cream recipes, you can make my nice cream recipes, the chocolate or the peanut butter, or, all the different nice cream recipes. Just add a little bit more plant-based milk or a little bit of water in there, and you can make a slushy out of it that way. But again, not something to be trying to maximize your intake of. I hope that helps. Ladine, do you drink a lot of water in the day? I eat a lot of water in the day. I eat my green leafy vegetables. I have potatoes and rice and beans and corn, which have a good amount of water in it, but I do have water. If I'm outside working, like right here, if I'm on my computer, if I'm working inside, which I do for 4 or 5 hours a day, I've got water next to me. And so, yes, I do drink a good amount of water. Do I maximize my intake of water? No. Some people say they feel great after taking 64 ounces of water a day. And if you're someone who habitually takes in water and you're always dehydrated, then making sure that you're getting enough water might be something that's beneficial to you. But for me, I normally am someone who can drink it, who can kind of self-regulate the water aspect of it. How tall am I, Stephanie? Well, goodness gracious, Bella. She got my nose really, really itchy. How tall am I? I am, let's do this. Before I broke my back, I was 6 foot. Now I'm about 5'10" and a half. So, which, if you think about it, doesn't help. So before I broke my back and I was playing football, if I was on the charts, the obesity charts, I still would have been considered obese. but then you cut down 1.5 inches, I became even more obese. What in the world? I was like a double whammy. So yeah, I'm like 5'10.5" now. Unfortunately, that's it. Asil Banvin, do you supplement with anything for minerals? The only supplement that I take is vitamin B12. Vitamin B12, that's it. Do you use buckwheat, Karen? Yeah, buckwheat's great. I don't necessarily maximize my buckwheat intake, but and it's not necessarily something that we have on the regular just because it's not as available to us, I guess. If like Kroger had buckwheat next to the rice, or like in general in places like that, yeah, I probably would have buckwheat more, but it's just not something we have a ton of. Hey, Mandy, thanks for joining on. Oh, she said, hey, Bella. Hey, Miss Iris, 1234. Hey, all right, let's see here. Let's go on to some Instagram or some YouTube questions. Do you find Dr. McDougall's recent interview out of character? This is produce, not pills. You know what? As someone who's been fighting the good fight for so long, I've been fighting this fight for a whole food plant-based diet, for my health, for your health, for my family's health, for the people that I love and I care about more than anything on this planet. I've been doing this for a couple years now. I can only imagine what it's like for someone who's been doing it for 40, 50, 60 years. So I'm not going to comment on that. He's done so good for the movement, but when you're on camera so much, guess what? You're always going to, if you're on camera enough, there's going to be moments. I still love him to death, and he still is a role model to so many thousands of people. And it doesn't change anything for me. Let's see here. Do you personally limit fruit intake? No, but I don't maximize. So here's the deal. I get asked a lot. Do you limit? Do you maximize? Do you minimize? I do not limit my fruit intake. Fruit is a great snack if you're feeling hungry, because we're looking at that scale, the calorie density scale. Fruit is very low in calorie density. So we always have bananas around. We always have apples. We'll always have oranges around. And also we'll have some more exotic. Sometimes we'll get from the frozen section, things like sapadilla or chiku, which are really tasty fruits that I would recommend checking out. But if I'm ever in the middle of the day and, maybe I had lunch an hour and a half ago and I'm kind of hungry, I'm doing some work, I'm on the farm, I'll go in there, I'll grab a banana. I'll just chow down a banana. That's how I eat my fruit, really. But also, I have the same thing with sweet potatoes. I keep sweet potatoes in the fridge. And so I'll go in and grab a sweet potato. So I consider them similar snacks in that capacity. But no, I don't minimize my fruit, but I don't also maximize it. It's not like I try to meet 15 servings a day. I will normally have about probably 3 to 7 servings of fruit a day, which would be about 2-3 bananas, an orange, an apple, things like that. So no, I don't maximize it, but I don't also minimize it. I hope that helps. Janet, you look good and happy. Janet, I am so happy. I get to help people realize how awesome the whole food plant-based diet is. So yes, that is it. AJ Wimberly, we use silicone baking mats instead of parchment paper. Yes. So if you want to go more low waste for baking, again, parchment paper is what I consider to be the oil-free vegan's best friend in baking and roasting in the oven. Silicone will work just as well, and it is reusable. So that's another great option. Let's see here. And then Stephen, high heats, there could be some problems with it as well. So you're darned if you do, darned if you don't. But silicone and parchment paper, great options for low-fat vegans, oil-free vegans. Jeff Novak has some great calorie density. Yeah, so if you look up calorie density vegan or calorie density plant-based on YouTube, Jeff Novak's talk's going to be, I think, that first one that pops up. That is a great one to watch, about an hour. That's one I know I've shown my parents and I show many others. If you haven't seen that, I would recommend checking it out. I would really recommend checking it out. Let's see here. Sharon, thanks for giving us lots of simple recipes. Without nuts, tahini, oils, I always have to come back. I always come back to them for health. Yes. None of my recipes are first of all, none of them are overly high fat. None of them are based around nuts, seeds, avocados. Some make. We have a guacamole recipe. So yes, I guess one is, but nothing is super around the nuts, seeds, avocados, and no oil. Absolutely no oil there. Let's see here. I love Bella. Bella, how much peanut butter and ice cream can Bella eat in one sitting? Mandy, that's a great question. Bella could eat all the peanut butter and ice cream in one sitting. An infinite amount. So Bella, just like myself, Bella, why don't you come up here because we're talking about you. Bella, Bella is a volume eater just like I am. So back before going vegan, I used to eat a ton, and now I still eat a lot, but I eat healthier, whole food plant options. But Bella is a big volume eater. We do only feed her twice a day, and she gets, the proper amount of calories. I'm pretty strict about that. I don't let people just come and give her treats or anything because I do care about her long-term health. But my goodness, you are I think it's your hair that's making me itchy. So to talk about volume eating for Bella, there was one time when we were finishing our kitchen, we're remodeling the house, and our cabinets were open. We hadn't put the doors on them, and we had some dry beans, some bags of beans, and didn't even think about it because there's dry beans. They don't really smell. They don't, have any. It's not like you would think they would go after them. We came home and Bella had eaten 2.5, almost 3 bags of 1 pound things of black beans and pinto beans. You can't chew on them. They don't really have a smell. Maybe they have a little bit of a smell. They don't have a super taste. She just went. So we got home to her, who looked like a basketball, and that was we'll just say this. She was fine. Didn't have to take her to the vet or anything, but that was a rough, about 8 to 12 hours for old Bella and her digestion. So I don't know if she learned her lesson or not, but keep those dry beans away from the pups. Let's see. Eva, we'll definitely give the oil-free cooking a try. My biggest challenge at the moment is sticking to a vegan diet on a shoestring budget. Well, here's one thing, Eva. So talking about how I lost 100 pounds on a plant-based, a vegan diet, is we didn't do it spending a lot of money. So here's one thing. If you're used to eat, and I'm not saying that this is the case for you. Go Big Red, Cindy. Go Big Red. Go Big Red. But Eva, I'm not saying this is the case for you. But if someone is used to eating the standard American diet and filling up on McDonald's and Wendy's and Burger King, then and that's what they're eating, which unfortunately there are people out there who that's the majority of their diet. Going to anything more whole food is going to cost more. But if you're used to eating things like chicken and beef and pork and just the normal standard American foods that you would be eating, boxed foods or whatever that isn't vegan that you would and you're going to be eating those type of things, and then you move to cooking your own beans and making your own rice and basing your meals around the whole plant food, the starchy staples, potatoes, sweet potatoes, corn, quinoa, beans. Realistically, you're not going to be spending much more. And a lot of times there's been some studies out on it. Dr. McDougall talks about it a lot. You can reduce your budget by around 40% if you are basing your diet around those whole plant starchy foods, those staples, because you can go to Costco, you can go to Sam's Club, you can go to Kroger, and you can get a 10, 15-pound bag of potatoes, base that around all your lunches and dinners. And it might not be the sexy thing. It might not be the most exotic way to eat. But if you're on a real budget, eating a whole plant food based around starchy staples is going to be realistically your cheapest way about it, because you have potatoes, you have rice, you have beans, you have corn, you have quinoa. Those are all cheap. You can get them dry. Even if you get them canned, they're still cheap. And then you can season them with some inexpensive seasonings or some salsas or some sauces. And so keeping it simple like that with those staples can really save you a lot of money. We've noticed a huge decrease in grocery budget since going plant-based. But on the other token, or on the other side of things, you can just as easily go to a whole food plant-based diet and start going to Whole Foods and get the goji berries and the exotic sweet potatoes and the dragon fruit and all the exotic stuff, and you can spend $1,000 in a week for groceries. So there's very different ways about going about it. So I I hope that you can see that the difference there. It's kind of how or what you're basing your meals around. I hope that makes sense, Eva. I hope that makes sense there. Liz Dodson, hi from remote Alaska. Liz, hi from Richmond, Virginia. We have been having pretty beautiful weather here. It's been 90 all week. We've had some rain last night. It's a little cooler today, but I'm guessing we have a little bit different weather than you do in Alaska. But I'm guessing we're probably not in as beautiful of a climate as you are and being able to see all that scenery. So enjoy your weather in Alaska. Mandy, my kids want to see Bella again. Well, here you go, Mandy. I'm not going to show them Bella. You can tell them. Plant-Based Gabriel's not going to show him Bella because he's going to show him Bindi. Bubbles. Bindi is her former name. Bubbles is her name. Everybody knows her as Bubbles. Hey, Bubbles. Oh. So here is Bubbles. Mandy, this one's for you. Bubbles. Bubbles, when we rescued her and she was still a little bit younger. And so she was pretty skinny when we got her. So she's put on a little bit of weight since eating this way. But, and again, my dogs all eat a vegan prepared kibble that is, AFCO certified with the addition of whole plant foods added in there that are canine safe. So, but they're doing good. Bubbles saying hi to everybody. Hey, Bubbles. All right. Go back to sleep. All right, Tim, let's see it here. I have a hard time staying salt, oil, and sugar-free when I travel. Can you recommend safe restaurants? I got asked that question this week, actually, Tim. No. Other than here's the deal. If you're traveling a lot, you have to make two choices. You're either going to eat super simple. You have three choices. You're either going to eat super, super simple, like you can go to Wendy's and get a baked potato, or you can go to a restaurant and get a baked potato, and you've got to fight them to not put butter or oil on it. Fight them to not put butter and oil on it. So you could do that, and you could eat a bunch of baked potatoes. Not a great option. The second is you can find some vegan options. You can go to some vegan restaurants, and you can eat vegan food. It's tasty. Sometimes we can have it as a celebratory food. But it's super high in oil, super high in salt, super high in sugar, and it's not going to help you lose weight or stay at a healthy weight, and definitely not, be health promoting, even though it may be tasty and an option. And so there's an option. And then the third option, which I really like, is to either, if you're going on like a day trip, to think ahead, bring some sweet potatoes, some baked potato, a salsa. These are all cooked, of course. Some salsa, maybe a barbecue sauce in a little cooler. Bring that with you. That's an option if it's like a day trip, you're driving somewhere. If you're traveling a lot and you're traveling on planes and you're traveling out of state and in other cities, and you're staying in hotels, Airbnbs, I would recommend keeping about an hour to 2 hours at the start of your stay to go take a trip to the local Kroger, to Walmart, or to wherever. Get those staples. The corn you can get canned, or you can get cooked. Sometimes, a lot of times, you can get cooked rice nowadays. You can get a lot of these things and stock up on those fresh fruits to keep them there. And so those are the options. All being, a great world, that third option is the best. But I can also understand that if you travel a lot for work, you're in a lot of meetings, you're, like at restaurants, and you're with people, and you don't want to seem like, the weird guy's not eating anything. So, but you have the baked potato, or you can talk to the chef, or you can, depending on what type of restaurant you're at, you can go talk to the chef and say, hey, I'm allergic to oil. Dr. Esselstyn says it this way. You got to talk to the chef and you say, I am deathly allergic to oil. If even a drop touches my food, I will be needing to be rushed to the hospital. So if you put it like that, they'll probably maybe keep it off. You might still get some oil on there, knowing some restaurants. But you could have that baked potato if you had to eat at that restaurant, because a lot of times it's not the cheapest option and it's not the tastiest option. But you can go to that restaurant. You could tell them, I want steamed vegetables. You could have a salad with some balsamic or whatever. Just try to get the one that doesn't have 50% oil in it, which is tough. But going to that restaurant, you can ask for the baked potato, the steamed vegetables, and you can fill up that way. But really my best option when I'm traveling out of state or in state is to think ahead, either bring with me a cooler of some food that I can have. When we go camping, guys, so we'll go camping a lot. And so that's an overnight trip. We will bring with us a bunch of cooked potatoes, rice, beans, oats, a lot of oatmeal, and we'll bring those with us in a cooler. And so we have those for the weekend trip. If we're going flying somewhere, we'll make sure that we stop ahead. We'll stock up the Airbnb. We'll stock up the hotel or whatever with those whole plant foods. So I hope that helps. Eliza, hi from Southern California. Eliza, you are probably having some beautiful weather there. I hope you're enjoying your weather. Chrissy, Brian Smith, how do you feel about wheat gluten? It is not a health food. It's not something that promotes health. With that being said, I have a vegan ribs recipe that's made with wheat gluten because you can't really make vegan ribs with much else. A couple of my first burger recipes had Vital Wheat gluten in them. I don't have any recipes now, any new recipes. Those are very old recipes. Nothing now, because I find that the burgers and most recipes that you might think could use Vital Wheat gluten, you can use other binders like oats or rice or beans, things like that. So not a health food, but if you are someone that likes to go out celebratorily to a vegan restaurant, the wheat gluten product or the wheat gluten item, as long as you're not a celiac or gluten sensitive, probably isn't going to kill you, but definitely not something you want to base your diet around. Let's see. Do you get cravings for chocolate or candy? Romana Allen, chocolate or candy? No, not so much chocolate. I've never been a chocolate fan. Never been a real chocolate fan. Dr. Miller was a big chocolate fan. And so for her, she's feeling like chocolate, like for in the morning, like, I could use some chocolate. I will make her my chocolate peanut butter oatmeal, or I'll make chocolate ice cream. And so that kind of goes into for me, if I'm craving something like candy, which I was always a big sweet tooth, but with like fats. So like pies and just things that are horrible for you. But for sweets, for me, I will go for, if I'm feeling like something sweet, or if I'm feeling like something like sweet and chocolatey, I'll have something like a chocolate ice cream made with a fruit base, and that fills me up, and it's healthy, and it's something that we have ice cream almost every single night here during the summer. Almost every single night, me and Dr. Miller will sit down and have a bowl of ice cream. It's 3 to 4 bananas. If you want to make a little big batch, you can put 4 bananas, but 3 bananas, 2 tablespoons of cocoa powder, a little plant milk, and a little vanilla extract. That's it. It's delicious. It's tasty. It'll meet those sweet cravings, and you can have it during the day. You can have it at night. You can have it in the morning if you'd like, but it's a great option there. Let's see. Let's look at YouTube real quick. How are you maintaining a healthy back since you broke your back? Elaine Campbell. Well, Elaine, not that I would necessarily recommend it now, knowing what I know, living, the life that I live now. But I did have surgery. I had a 6.5-hour back surgery. I have a rod. I have screws, which looking at the research, unfortunately, surgery on the whole does more harm than good a lot of times. So in hindsight, I would have gave it more time to rest up. In last case scenario, I don't know if I would have gotten to that scenario. I would have had the surgery, to do the surgery again, because it, just like a lot of things in the health industry, there's a lot more harm that can be done than good. Given the fact that here's the fact: I was 100 pounds overweight. My doctor, the back surgeon I was going and talking to, wasn't telling me you got to lose the weight first. You got to lose the weight and then we'll talk. He was saying let's do the back surgery. Let's do the back surgery. But we tried everything like acupuncture and physical therapy and hydrotherapy and all these different things. But there was never the idea of losing the weight, of dropping 100 pounds. So I would have lost 100 pounds first. And then guess what? I probably wouldn't have, I probably would have potentially either needed less intervention from the medical standpoint or none, given becoming down to a healthy weight. And if I was at a healthy weight before everything happened, my back would still be fine. How do I maintain a healthy back now? Well, I lost the weight. You lose 100 pounds. I took the weight off my back. I feel so much better. I maintain a level of exercise now that I didn't have while I was losing the 100 pounds, but I did exercise or I exercise a bit now, but I can't push it. I can't get on a treadmill. I can't go hard I can't do an elliptical. There's a lot of things that I'm unable to do now because of that back surgery, because I'll start having some pain in those pins and the rods and things like that. So I've got to be careful with it, but losing the weight and eating low inflammatory foods like whole plant foods, like the ones that I eat, sweet potatoes, beans, rice, bean, corn, quinoa, are low inflammatory. And so unless you're allergic to them, but that has definitely helped with the back. I hope that helps. I hope that helps. Miss Iris, I love Dr. McDougall. I love McDougall too. Yes, he is the best, the best. Stephen, your enthusiasm for the lifestyle is so amazing. Well, Stephen, I appreciate that. I really do. And I'm so glad that you've tuned in again. But here's the deal. It's almost like for my whole life, I didn't have, I was overweight. Everybody I knew was overweight. We were sick, always going to the doctor, never feeling good. There was always something coming up. And it's like, you find this, it's almost like it's like a magic food that keeps you away from the doctor, makes you feel better, brings your energy levels up, clears your skin up, helps you lose weight. It's hard not to be excited and enthusiastic about this whole food plant-based way of eating. I really appreciate that, Stephen. But I tell you, I don't have to try with it really. It's just been awesome. Miss Iris, love that dog. Funny story. Some pups just, yes. Yeah. The story about the beans. Seriously, Bella was like a basketball. It was crazy, crazy, crazy. It was insane. Produce, not pills. When traveling, it's best to find grocery stores. Another helpful tip, it should work well, is an Asian restaurant. They can have steamed rice and veggies. Yes. So yeah, an Asian restaurant can make you steamed rice and veggies, but be careful with that oil. And if they're going to put any sauces on there, be careful, because I know a lot of restaurants want to throw in some fish sauce, which is gross. Let's see here. Facebook. Again, if you have any questions, let me know. We're going to be closing this up here in about well, if I start sneezing, because Bella's hair's probably pretty soon, but probably about 5 to 10 minutes. Fit for me. It's great to see you here. Glad you could stop in. Love that page. Go check them out. Great for exercising. Tracy, hi. Do you take a vitamin B12 supplement? Any other supplements? Yes. So I did cover this. I do take vitamin B12. That's the only supplement that I recommend. If you have blood work that shows otherwise, that you need to take something else, well, then go talk to your doctor, because I'm not a doctor or medical doctor. So I'm not the person to ask about that. But in general, if you're a normal, healthy individual, your blood work comes back, your markers are all good, then vitamin B12 is the only one that I recommend and that I take and that most plant-based doctors recommend. And here's the thing. I covered this last week. If your plant-based doctor or doctor is recommending other supplements than vitamin B12 and you're not showing signs of deficiencies in those nutrients or vitamins, then you need to ask this simple question. Repeat after me. Do you sell that supplement, doctor? And if that answer is yes, I do. Would you like me to write you up? Would you like to order some? Then you need to be wary. So the plant-based doctors that I follow, guys, are ones that that really don't have an agenda other than to help you reach your whole health potential there. So be very wary of individuals and doctors that are trying to sell you on different supplements and potions and pills. Vitamin B12 has been shown that that's probably the one that you should be worried about. Let's see. Cat Lee, weight loss is 70 to 80% diet and only 10 to 20%. So you want to watch what you're eating. I'm guessing, Kat, you were meaning that only 10 to 20% exercise is what I'm guessing. And I actually consider diet. So when I'm considering losing weight, like I did, losing 100 pounds on a whole food, plant-based, a vegan diet, I consider the diet aspect 90 to 95% of the losing weight, and exercise 5 to 10%. Because I think that's more reasonable for most individuals. Not everybody, I understand, is extreme as me, who broke my back, went on a 6.5-hour surgery, was unable to walk or had to relearn how to walk, was unable to exercise for months and months and months for a good amount, for the majority of the weight loss process. But a lot of people are in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 260, 250, 280 pounds, high blood pressure, diabetic, gout, swelling in the feet, unable to do much exercising. And so all hope is not lost, and hope is still there, because in my consideration, losing weight is 90 to 95% diet. And so, yeah, if you can walk, if you can do a little exercising, it will help a ton. But you can do it all by diet. You can eat those whole plant foods, low calorie density, high in fiber, high in the nutrients, and feel great and lose that weight. So thank you for that, Kat. Let's see. Is there fit for me? Is there any super caloric vegan food? Is there any super caloric vegan foods? I would to gain around 20 pounds ASAP. Well, yeah, there is the higher fat foods, the foods that I recommend staying away from if you're trying to lose weight are the same foods if you're trying to gain weight you would maybe lean towards. So nuts, seeds, avocados, tahini, things like that are very much high in calorie density, but you've also got to be wary because they're also higher in fat. So if you're trying to lose weight or if you're trying to gain weight, I would never recommend gaining weight quickly because I've done it in the past, and you're never going to gain muscle fast. And you're not going to gain bone density fast. The only thing you can gain fast is fat. And not many people are in the idea, and I'm not saying this is you, but not many people are in the game or have the goal of gaining fat fast. And if you're trying to gain weight fast, fat is what you will normally be putting on quickly. So I would recommend going for higher, maybe more calorie dense whole plant foods that aren't high in fat. So rice, quinoa, oats, foods that are low calorie density, but more calorie dense than salads and things like potatoes, which are very low in calorie density. Breads, you could have breads. If you're going to have some potatoes, maybe make a potato sandwich if you're trying to gain weight. But I would never recommend gaining weight quickly. If you do have to gain weight, I would recommend doing it slowly over the long haul, just like I recommend losing weight. Again, I lost 100 pounds over 2 years, 1 pound a week. I would recommend if you're trying to gain weight that you would do it in a similar fashion and not try to necessarily gain it so quickly. That's just my take on that. And you could say I'm a bit of an expert on gaining weight because I've done it a lot. But I'm also working my way to becoming helping people lose weight because I have done that too. And the biggest key for me is not necessarily being an expert in weight gain or weight loss, but being an expert in weight management and keeping at the same weight because it's fun to lose weight. It's not fun to gain weight, but it is super fun to be able to eat the right foods, eat as much as you want of them, and not gain any weight, stay the exact same weight, live healthfully, and die at 100 in your sleep. That's the goal. That's the goal, everybody. Let's see. A couple more questions here. Gabriel, how is your back now? Esler Santos, I noticed that you and Dr. Miller grill a lot of bean or veggie burgers. What kind of roll do you recommend? Okay. So first of all, the back is okay. I would not have gone straight to surgery, and I would not have the way I did it. The process was I broke my back. They tried a few things for a couple months, and then they did surgery. And then I lost 100 pounds after eating a whole food plant-based diet. The right way of doing that would have been, if you're going to break your back, say we're starting at broken back, lose 100 pounds, reevaluate everything, hopefully feel good enough to where you don't have to have that surgery. But that's not what I did. And so I do have pins and rods and screws in my back that do cause, if I do overexert myself, I do have some problems there. So I've got to make sure that I don't go running, which really stinks because I used to be a distance runner. During the summers, I was a 250-pound football player, but in high school during the summers, I would run with the cross country team to stay in shape. Yeah, that shape was more so round than any other shape, but I stayed in a shape. But yeah, so the back's okay now. I've got to be careful. Out on the farm, I do a lot of planting. Your back's going to hurt a little bit. Not the ideal way to go about it, but I manage. Like Michael Scott's first book from The Office, somehow I manage. If we got any Office fans out there, I hope you enjoyed that one. All right, let's see. What kind of roll do you recommend for things like veggie burgers? Here's the best one because this one's the most accessible to everybody. Ezekiel Bread or Dave's Killer Bread. They're not rolls, they're not buns, but they are oil-free. They are, they've got nuts and seeds in them, or seeds in them, so they're a little higher fat, but they are oil-free. And you could either cut them to be a round shape for your burger, or you can just have it, like a sandwich. But those are the best options. If you have local bakeries, those are also great options for buns. I'm working on, 1 second here. My mom was calling me there. I don't know what the dealio was there. I hope we're still good on Facebook because I was on my phone there. But okay, so buns, I'm working on a recipe there, but they're a little bit trickier. I would recommend. All right, we're back. I would recommend going with the looking for things like Dave's Killer Bread or Ezekiel Bread work great. It might take a little bit of time to get used to, but we do have some local bakeries that are great there. So if you're in Richmond, I guess I could help with that a little bit better, but maybe talk to some local bakeries. JL Light, really good information today. Thanks. What are your thoughts on mono meals? They're kind of, so mono meals, meaning just eating potatoes, just eating bananas all day, just eating watermelon all day. If you follow my sister, the Midwest vegan queen, you know that she enjoys mono meals. For me personally, and my take on them, I don't find them sustainable. I do not find them as something that is a good option for long-term weight loss. They might help lose some weight, but I don't see much long-term adherence to them. And I see some potential problems in the idea that people get so crazy. Not that you're crazy if you do this, but you can get so into like just eating this one thing that you start getting into the realm of eating disorders. Not saying that you have them, not saying that anybody who does this has them, but you can start getting closer and closer. I'm not saying like my sister eats them, she's fine. She eats potatoes normally, but to do like a detox thing, she'll have something like a mono meal with bananas or watermelon, things like that. But on general, I don't necessarily recommend them. If you're going to do a mono meal, I'd recommend doing it around potatoes. There's been a lot of research and some studies around there, and people have going long-term on potatoes. And so that's be my option there. Probably because the other thing is when you're doing like a mono meal, you're not trying to maximize your intake of that one food. The idea is that you're eating the same thing. So it kind of gets boring. So you're minimizing the intake of it almost. I hope that answers that. Alex Collins, Brenda, really enjoying your videos. Thank you so much. Rose, thanks for the tips. You are so welcome. So welcome. Alex, what do you eat for breakfast most days? I find myself going through fresh fruits most mornings, but I'm afraid after consuming too much sugar, I have RA, rheumatoid arthritis, and try to follow an APE diet. Do you need to avoid grain as well? So I need to avoid a lot of grain-based foods, anything that contains gluten. Okay, so Alex, oatmeal, great option. You can get gluten-free oatmeal. Another great option is, so the sugar idea. Fruit sugar is not the same as table sugar. As long as you don't have any, your rheumatoid arthritis, I don't necessarily imagine is going to be necessarily negatively affected by that, by having some fruit for breakfast. I wouldn't necessarily just eat just fruit for breakfast, for the sole fact that I don't find it as filling as adding in some of those grains. So I go with oatmeal for breakfast. Again, you can get a gluten-free oatmeal, potato hashes. You can get them in the freezer section, just shoestring potatoes or the square hashed potatoes where the only ingredient is potato and maybe one like stabilizer. But you can get ones that are just potatoes. You can throw them on a baking sheet with some parchment paper or silicone mat, and you can put them on a pan with some water or veggie broth and cook them off. And that is a great option. I have some hash brown recipes and a lot of oatmeal recipes. That would be my recommendation. I utilize your recipes often and have cut out oil from my diet. That is so awesome. I am so glad to hear that. To find hearty breakfast options that aren't full of sugar and aren't oats granola. Okay, Alex. The oats thing. I would check out forksoverknives.com for some great breakfast options. I would also look into some different grains, and you could also, we have rice for breakfast sometimes. We'll have rice just like we'll have oatmeal. Sometimes we'll have quinoa like we'll have oatmeal. So there's a lot of different options. The grains are a good way to fill up, but guess what? We live in America where it's the land, I don't know where you live, but I live in the land of sugary, fatty, processed foods for breakfast. So you do not have to stay in line with that. Guess what? You can have tacos for breakfast. You can have enchiladas for breakfast. You can have tostada. You can. I just named tostadas, tacos, and enchiladas. Seriously, those are my three. You can have baked potatoes. You can have sweet potatoes. A lot of people have sweet potatoes for breakfast with some cinnamon and maple syrup. If you make them like my Instant Pot sweet potatoes, you don't have to have the maple syrup. They are more than sweet enough. I hope that helps. You can just, you don't have to have anything sweet. You can have whatever you would have for lunch, you can have for breakfast. I hope that I hope that kind of answers it there. Lidine, I copy and paste his recipes and print them off on my computer. I'm so glad to hear that, and I'm also working on making sure I have a printable option. Tracy, do you do Carthy? Do you do intermittent fasting, or how many meals do you skip in a week? I skip 0 meals, and I do not do intermittent fasting. I know there are people that do it, and they find results in there, and that is great. But again, I'm worried about long-term adherence, long-term, being able to stay on this way of eating long-term, and I don't see too many people that have been intermittent fasting for 15 years. I know there's people out there, and I know there's people out there that maybe skip a meal or do some, but I don't see too many people. But I do see a lot of people after being in this realm and being in different groups and knowing and meeting people. I know a lot of people that follow a whole food plant-based diet that have done it for decades, that haven't skipped a meal, that don't intermittent fast, but stick with it, have lost weight and have stayed at a healthy weight for decades on end. So that's kind of my take on there. You can do it, and there's healthful ways about doing it, but it's not something that I necessarily recommend or follow, or something that I use to lose 100 pounds. Ginny, love a plant-based diet, lost 40 pounds so far and feel great. I am cheering you on. That is fantastic, spectacular, awesome job. Jane, love your pork burgers, my vegan pork burgers. I am so glad to hear that. A whole food plant-based. Check them out on plantbasedgabriel.com or YouTube. They're really, really good. Melissa, are there any relatively healthy fast food options that you can recommend? We travel, and eating healthy on the road is a challenge. The one that I go to is Wendy's. Wendy's, you can get the baked potato and get some salsa. That's a great option. You can put some ketchup on there if you'd like, or some mustard or whatever, or some barbecue sauce. But that's really the one that comes to mind. If anybody has any other fast food options, throw them in there. But normally the best fast food option here's the one. And I understand that if you're going, or I don't know if this is your case, but if you've got kids in the back seat and you've got to take, you want to go through a drive-through and this and that, but the best fast food option is stopping in at Kroger, stopping in at, a grocery store and going and grabbing, something quick, and maybe bringing with you your reusable fork and spoon or plate or whatever, and just having that with you. So I hope that helps. The best fast food that I find is ones just stopping in the store. It's not as fast, but it is helpful. Looks like Red Pill Vegan just stopped in. Hey, Red Pill Vegan, and Catherine Lohman, great to have you on. We are finishing up here. I'm going to answer some more questions, but make sure you go back to the start. We've been talking about how I lost 100 pounds on a whole food plant-based vegan diet, kind of my transition to it, some of my tips and not tricks, but tips and applicable things that I did to lose the weight, and how I helped my family lose the weight as well, and how I've seen many others lose this weight. Let's see here. A few more questions. And I want to get to everything, but I don't know if I will. If I've already answered a question, I don't know. So we'll just go here. Love that dog. Yeah, Bella and Bubbles have been on here. So if you just tuned in, make sure you check Bella and Bubbles. Let's see here. Elaine, thanks for the info about maintaining your back. I'm glad that helped, Elaine. I'm glad that helped. Yeah. Lose. I would have much rather gone the option of losing weight than the surgery on the back. Lynn, so no bread if wanting to lose weight. Not necessarily. But bread is not something that you want to be having at every meal or maximizing if you're trying to lose weight. Bread is very high in calorie density. It is something that we eat. We eat not every day, but on the regular, we'll have bread. Oil-free breads, a good sourdough. We love a good garlic sourdough. Hey, girl. Hey, Bubbles. Bubbles and Bella are down there snoring their brains off. But bread on general, if you're trying to lose weight, is something that you're going to want to, just because of the calorie density. And here's the thing, 1 or 2 slices might be 150 calories, 200 calories. And that's okay. If you're someone that can have a slice of bread, but here's the deal. 3 days ago, I got a loaf of bread for Dr. Miller and I. We sat down and we ate that thing for dinner or before dinner. And we're not bad people. We're not out of the, we're not crazy. We just we're just normal people. Bread is delicious and bread is easy to eat a lot of, but it's also high in calorie density. So that is why we stay away from it in general if we're trying to lose weight. I hope that helped. Red Pill Vegan, whole food plant-based diet has so many delicious foods varieties. Yeah, guys, Red Pill Vegan, if you haven't on YouTube, check him out. He's got some great videos. He's got a few recipes on there, but mainly helping people kind of work their way through all that misinformation that's out there. I hope that helps. Janet, my favorite fast food is Chipotle. Yeah, you can definitely, we will eat at Chipotle. So we do, but we eat it as a celebratory vegan meal, maybe once a month. It is full of oil. It's full of salt. Not something to eat if you're trying to lose weight, and not something to eat if you travel a lot and you're looking for an option. But if it's something that you want to go out once a month or so and have, that is an option, but not something we maximize. Let's see here. Let's see. Salads are a great option. Okay, yeah, right, that's right. Produce, not pills. If you are eating out, you can go ahead and go with something like a salad. And you might, if you know you're going to be going out and you know you're going to be getting a salad, it might pay to bring along your favorite oil-free dressing or some balsamic vinegar, because not a lot of times at the restaurants or fast food places are they going to have a compliant salad dressing. That is a great option. But yeah, bring that in. Heard about you, but never caught you live. Maria, I'm glad that you caught me live here. I'm glad you caught me live. Terry Lynn, whole food plant-based diet, way cheaper for my family compared to sad diet. That's awesome to hear. Yeah, earlier we had a question about how can you eat vegan or healthy full whole food plant-based. It's by eating and basing your diet around the starchy staples: potatoes, sweet potatoes, beans, corn, quinoa, oats, things like that. If you do that and you base your meals around there, you're going to be saving money. But on the other token, if you eat a vegan diet and you're basing your meals around goji berries, dragon fruit, kiwis, and all the exotic Whole Foods, the place to eat, Whole Foods. If you base your meals around there, yeah, you're gonna be spending a lot more. So, or whole paycheck, as some people like to say. Let's see. Elizabeth, love your peanut butter and ice cream recipe. I am so glad to hear that. Yeah, so JL, my sister calls Kroger K Roger. It's kind of funny. I call it K Roger on occasion now too. I was able to cut my food budget in half on a whole food plant-based diet. That is awesome to hear. All right, let's go here. I'm going to answer 2 more questions. Well, here, first of all, Nicole said, just saying hello, my family, including our 3 kids, love your burger recipes. We will try your ice cream next. Nicole, I am so glad. I love hearing when people are enjoying the recipes, just right, everybody enjoying them. But when I hear that kids are getting on board with this whole food, plant-based, healthy, vegan foods, things like my bean burgers, my ice creams, the tacos, enchiladas, things like that, taquitos, that gets that makes me so happy, guys. If I would have had the information, if I would have known what I knew now and been able to help myself as a kid, like many parents, like many moms, dads, grandpas, and grandmas are doing with their family and their children, you are setting them up for such a different life than I've lived, including breaking my back, being 100 pounds, obese, overweight, and all the rest of America being in and out of hospitals, hooked up to machines, pills, and potions for your latter half of your life. You get kids on this way of eating, now you are setting them up to a life of health and success, whether they want to be athletes, astronauts, or doctors, or lawyers, or anything that they want to set their mind to. You're putting them on the right track. That is awesome. I love hearing about that. Nicole, you are a superstar. So happy for you. Erica, how do you deal with salt cravings? Well, I eat salt. I don't eat a lot, but here's the deal. None of my recipes have salt in them. But I've said it before, I continue to say it. So I'm not going to force anybody to have salt. I'm not going to force a level of sodium intake on anybody by saying you have to put a teaspoon of this in. But here's the deal. If I make my enchilada bake, and we make the big enchilada bake, which I showed a picture of recently, well, I will make it. Doesn't have any salt in it. We'll serve it up, and you can do a couple things. You can just have it like it is. That's fine. But you can put salsa on it, which has salt. You can put hot sauce on it, which has salt. Or you can put some salt over the top of it, which adds a salty taste to when it reaches your mouth. But when you're cooking with salt, when those crystals break down into the recipe, you lose that salty taste and you just get excess sodium. So how do I deal with salt cravings is I use salt and I eat salt, but I don't overly do it by adding it into recipes. I add it on top of my food, on the top layer of my foods. I hope that helps. All right. Let's see. All right. One more question. Jan, I used lots of cauliflower, yet I don't see you. Any thoughts? Cauliflower. We enjoy cauliflower. But we normally just steam it, so I don't necessarily have the recipe out there for it. So, you'll see some more cauliflower dishes, Jan. I promise. Some more cauliflower dishes, and yes to the hot sauce. Dahlia, can you write the link to the McDougall Healthy Scale Weight? Yeah. Well, just if you look up Kempner McDougall Healthy Weight, I think that might help. KEMPNER McDougall. If not, shoot me a message either on YouTube or Facebook or at plantbasedgabriel.com, and I will get that to you. It's tough to kind of comment in there right now. So that's kind of the live stream, guys. Here's the thing. We're going to be doing these on Sundays. These are going to be Sunday streams. Please comment below. Please comment below topics you want to talk about. We did not talk about any vegan and organic farming today. We did not talk about any beginner growing stuff. Those are topics that we're going to be covering, but talking about beginning gardeners or growing with vegan practices and organic practices, any topics in those that you want to talk about, weight loss, specific, anything, guys, that you want to talk about, that you want me to talk about, that you want, that you want to just discuss, please comment below. Send me some messages, shoot some comments in here. Let's just get some things going because I want to continue doing these live streams. We had a great turnout today. I'm hoping we continue to have the turnouts, and I hope these help you all with any questions you have, any concerns. And again, this was the how I lost 100 pounds, eating a whole food plant-based, a vegan diet, some of the pitfalls that I fell into, some of the things that I did that really helped. And one more question, Janet, do you drink kombucha? On a very rare occasion. If we're out and kombucha is like an option, I might have it, but that is a once every 3 month thing. You can have it more often, of course, but I'm just not a big kombucha fan. So one other thing, I'm going to be doing a lot more videos here on the 1 Acre Vegan Farm. If you're in Richmond, Virginia, I'm just throwing this out there. I am going to, there's a very good chance I'm going to be doing a small scale CSA / produce box. I'm talking about maybe 10 families because I want to be able to make sure I can maximize the amount of produce you get and guarantee it throughout the summer. But we're talking about a small scale CSA type produce box. So if you're in the Virginia area or Richmond area, if you're in the surrounding area and you want to be a part of that, please shoot me a message, get in touch with me. I'm going to be sending some more information about that out soon, but also be doing some more videos on it. So everybody have a wonderful day. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Just you all being here means the world to me. Here, I'll get Bella and Bubbles for you one last time. Bubbles, why don't you come and say hi? Oh, Bubbles, say bye. All right, Bubbles says bye. Bella, come here. Bella, hey, come here. Come here. Come here. You've been on camera a lot. Don't you want to be on it again? All right. Bella! Bella, say bye. Thank you guys for watching. Bella, Bubbles, and I, and Dr. Miller, thank you all for joining in. Again, any potential, if you have any video requests that you want me to do like a video on, a recipe on, or questions on, concerns on, please let me know. If you're just now tuning in, make sure you start at the beginning if you have any questions because we probably covered it. And any other questions that we didn't cover, please go ahead and comment below or comment on this post. Or shoot me a message because we will try to cover it on the next Sunday stream. I am Plant-Based Gabriel. Thanking you all so very much for watching. And I will see you on another video very soon. Bye, guys. Thanks for tuning in.